Let's stitch a squirmle. This kind of squirmle. The design is from Van Gogh Designs. And here are a couple things you're going to need. Cutaway stabilizer. Just use it. Trust us on this. We've done dozens of them, and you're really going to need cutaway stabilizer, not because they are dense, but because of the shape. You need something very sturdy and stable. You are going to need your vinyl pieces. So I have 2 cut out here. Sometimes when I cut out a piece of vinyl to do a design, I cut it a lot smaller to save on vinyl. But with this design, make sure you have enough extra so that you can tape all 4 sides of the vinyl. It really needs to be secured down well. All right, so let's begin. I'm going to use black when I normally would not use black to start my design. So let's go ahead. I have it already loaded on my machine. I'm using the NQ1600E, but I have my 4x4 hoop on there. And let's see, let's lock it down and let's do the placement. All right, so I'm going to lay my vinyl down, make sure you cover up all the sides, and I want it in the center as much as possible. And then I'm going to tape down all 4 sides. I'm not usually one for taping too much, but with this design, it's a good idea. I'll put a link in the description if you're curious about this tape. It comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 10 different colors, and it lasts quite a while. Normally I would take it off my machine to tape it, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to do it while it is still on. Okay. All right, so I've chosen my colors, and I'm going to start with a neon yellow base. I like my darkest color in the middle, and then I want my accent color to be on top. So that's the order in which I'm going to do them. I'm going to start with my neon yellow. You'll notice that this is a very wide satin stitch. Okay, that was layer number 1 of Squirmle. Here's 2. Like I said, I like to use my darkest color second, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes I change my mind after I have my first layer down, so you can do whatever you like. And at the end, I'm going to show you 3 colors used 3 different ways. All right, that was the second layer. And you'll notice, or maybe you didn't, but the stitches so far have been very wide satin stitches. So this final stitch gives yet more depth, and you'll see how it locks in those other stitches. So for my final color, I'm going to use a brighter green, a lighter, brighter green, because that's the color I want to really be showcased. And it gives nice depth. The more you layer colors on, you can use different shades of one color, you can use different colors, anything. All right, so I'm going to move this out just a little bit and show you. So there you have the 3 layers, but if you'll notice, there are different values of color as it goes around. So even my real Squirmle, when you look at him, when he's curved, in the light, you see brighter spots and darker spots. So Alina did a fantastic job on this with depth. Next, we're going to do his rope. Okay, next are the eyeballs, and if you're wondering why there are 2 separate steps, it's because if I were doing this on white vinyl, I would use a color other than white for the string. On the ones I did on white vinyl, I used a variation of gray or silver, and it just showed up a lot nicer. So let's go ahead and do the eyes. Make sure that if your machine does not cut jumps, that you go ahead and you cut those jumps right here. You'll thank me later for it, and you won't have to dig them out underneath the outline of the eyeballs. Okay, so just make sure they're nice and flat as best you can. Now it's time for the outline of his eyes. Even though mine cuts jumps, I still want to cut the tails. That's what I really meant to say. Make sure you cut your tails. Okay, and now it's time to put the back on. So let me show you. When I take my back off, I hold the back of my arm. Actually, nope, I hold the front, sorry. Hold the front of my arm and I just pull my hoop. So you want to keep this part of your arm in place. So I'll turn it over. And once again, I will tape the back onto the back of Squirmle. This time I only need a couple of pieces to hold my vinyl in place. Okay, so let's put it back on our machine. I'm going to hold the back of my arm. Put this up so you can see. And then I'm going to slide it back on. I hold the back so that my arm doesn't move. If it were to move on you while you're putting it back on, what I will do is remove my hoop, turn my machine off, turn it back on, and my machine allows me to go back to where I left off. So if your machine does that and you ever accidentally bump your arm, or even if you think you've bumped your arm in any design, you can do that little trick. Okay, so we're ready. I'm going to use black thread because I prefer my outline of the eyelet to match my vinyl. So here's the one trick that I see a lot of people ask for on a regular basis. I don't want nesting on the bottom of my keyfob, my eyelet. So I'm going to hold my thread in my hand. I'm going to hit my needle down button, needle back up, and then I pull this thread, and below where my needle is, my bobbin thread poked out, and you pull it. Take both threads in your hand, hold them, drop my foot, and now I start to embroider again. Once it has stitched 3 or 4 stitches, I will stop my machine and clip the stitches and then keep going. So you can see I just held those taut. I did not pull them. I didn't leave them loose. Just hold them taut. Clip it as close as I can. It doesn't matter. I'm going to clip the rest later on. And now I can just resume stitching. And there you go. That's it. All right. So there we go. Let's pull it off. Let's check the back out. There we go. No knot. Okay. No nesting. No nesting. Okay. So there he is. Isn't he cute? It's adorable. Okay, a couple more things to point out. It's a been there, done that type of situation. When you have this taped down, make sure the tape is outside any stitch lines. On one of my designs, I had the tape really far in, and it was underneath some of his fuzz. And when I tried to rip the tape off, it pulled those threads out, and that was a mess. So that one I had to ditch. Why do we tape down so well? I'm going to show you. These were some of my early versions. Check that wave out. It almost gives them a little bit of character, but that's what happens, especially to white vinyl. White vinyl is a beast. If you've worked with it before, you know. All right, but these are just various stages of them. But the white vinyl, it puckered so much in the front as it went around. You can see it's like a roller coaster. So that's why you have to tape it down. Now, at this point, we've got white vinyl's good, still tape it down. Okay? Let's see, what else? Oh, I wanted to show you. So I used those 3 colors in different order on those 3 Squirmles. Okay, so I would say this one is the lightest of them. This is the most depth of them. We see more color on this one, and this one just seems to be very blue. Okay, so in another post, I will talk about what shades I used when, what was first, what was second, what was third. So there you go. Oh, and one other thing. So as I said before, the reason the white and the string are separate steps, you wouldn't want a white string on white vinyl if you chose to use white vinyl. So here I used silver, and I think it looks better than white. I did one in white, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. So, yep, that's why it's separate steps. So just have to hit your button one extra time. So there you go. I never really mastered playing with one of these things. My brother was probably better than I was. There you go. I'll cut them out. I'll put an eyelet in, and I'll add a ball and chain, or I could add a ring. All right. Thanks for stopping by.